All right, 3 tips for a good cut, or let's focus primarily on a broadcast cut. So the 3 things I want to try to emphasize in this thing, things that you can remember easily, are diversity of shots, dynamics of your shots, or more specifically, dynamics and energy, and then decisiveness. So let's take that first one, diversity of shots. When I'm thinking about diversity, I'm thinking about two main things. And one is like making sure I have a good variety of tight shots and wide shots. And again, we're talking about broadcast cut, right? So not a traditional IMAG where all we care about is tight shots. But we're trying to tell the story of what's happening in our room to people who are not in our room. So a broadcast cut. And I want to make sure that I've got a good mixture of tights and wides. Tights because as a storyteller, tight shots is how I can really express emotion, body language, facial expressions, and just make sure that the speaker or the worship leader or the pastor can be seen really clearly in my cut. So tight shots are super important. But a wide shot is also really important in the storytelling of what's happening. I like to think through the lens of a lighting designer. They're designing the stage and the set, and there's different things happening with the lights during different parts of the song or different parts of the message. And so capturing that is part of the story. So I got to make sure I have a good mixture. A good rule of thumb that I kind of use as I'm designing systems for small churches or 3 cameras or up to 30 cameras for a big stadium event. For every like 3 tight shots I want to have 1 wide shot. And that's not like a hard and fast rule, but it's just something that I kind of use in the back of my mind to make sure I'm not overloaded too much on one side. So like a good 3-to-1 ratio, somewhere in that range is kind of what I use as my guide. The other type of diversity in my shots would be what kind of movement can I get? So if I have 5 cameras and they're all tripods or hard cameras that we would call it, I'm very limited in the kind of diversity of movement that I can get with that. So I want to make sure that I have a good diversity of hard cameras, also known as tripods or sticks, handhelds, and then if I have the resources, I want to get some sort of smoother cinematic movement. So a slider or a dolly or a jib or a gimbal, something like that that's going to help me get different types of movement for different parts of the song or the message that I'm trying to capture. Because each part has its own unique story and unique kind of like tools that I want to use to help tell that story the best way that I can. So diversity of camera shots. Second one would be dynamic energy. And I like the word dynamics because especially talking about music, or even the message really, everything we do that is a story. So a song is a story. You're going on a journey through that song. A sermon also is a story, right? It starts with some kind of introduction. At some point, there's going to be some tension that is created, and then you're going to have some resolution of that tension. And in each one of those things, and even in a song, especially worship music, generally speaking, a verse is going to start kind of softer, and then we're going to build a little bit to a chorus, and then we're going to come back to a verse. We're going to hit a bigger chorus, and then a lot of times after that second chorus, we're going to hit a soft bridge, and then we're going to hit that bridge hard a few times with a lot of energy. That'll be our peak moment of the song, and then maybe we'll bring it back to a tag at the end. But if you were to sketch that out as far as like energy levels, you're starting somewhere kind of lower. We're going to climb a little bit, then we're going to come back down, then we're going to get big, come way down for that soft bridge, and then we're going to hit our peak, and then we're going to have that resolution of a tag. So kind of understanding the flow and the movement of these things that we're trying to capture helps me understand that I need some dynamics in how I cut it. And so that could be dynamics in the pace of my cuts. So I'm going to have shots that last longer for verses and for slower moments. And in those shots, those moments are probably going to have some tighter shots in them because that's the slower moments of the song that I can capture that facial expression or capture that energy that's body language. And then as the song gets bigger, my cutting is going to increase. The pace of my cutting is going to increase. So shots are going to last for a shorter length of time. I'm going to cut more often. And I'm also going to introduce more wide shots because I'm thinking about the lighting during those big moments of the big songs is when you're going to see light sweeps or content on the LED wall is going to be changing. So I'm going to zoom out in my composition so that I can see those things happening in the room. One like quick tip kind of thing that you could do is, during the week, go back and review your program cut. But when you're watching it, actually hit mute so you can't hear what's happening. You're just watching it visually. You should be able to tell just by the types of shots you're taking, the speed of the camera movement of each shot, and then the speed of your cut. You should be able to tell what part of the song you're in. And if you can't tell, if it's kind of all the same, then you don't have enough dynamics. But also the opposite could be true. Maybe the dynamics are just too extreme. So watching it without the audio on could be a good way to kind of kind of get a baseline for how are my dynamics in my cut. And the last one I want to talk about is decisiveness. In the heat of the moment, especially during music when we're live cutting cameras, and it's just oftentimes people will come in and watch people that don't have production experience, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't understand. How can you look at that many cameras and make decisions so quick? How are you receiving all that information?" And the truth of it is, a lot of what we do as video directors is it's instinctual. It's you go with your gut. And a lot of times I'll see people get bogged down into trying to make decisions in real time and trying to do too much coaching in real time or do too much communication and trying to get some specific shot. And by the time that's happened, the moment's passed. So be decisive, make a decision, make a call, do the work on the front end to give your camera ops, information about what kind of stuff they should be shooting, what kind of movement they should be doing. But in the moment, make decisions, make cuts, use your gut, use your instincts, and then come back later in the week and watch it. If your instincts were wrong, that's okay. Don't get too worried about it in the moment, because then you're going to miss the next 5 moments that are coming right after that during the service. But later in the week, go back and watch it, and we can correct those things, those instinctual things and those gut things over time, the more that we practice and the more that we hone our craft.